Hey, Kevin here, and I thought I'd do a little bit different coffee with Kevin this segment. I haven't done one for a little bit. And I'm standing in front of a greenhouse that I built here on the property. I actually put this together before I even started building my own house. And this, I guess I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of how to make money, shoestring startup kind of series, and see how you like that. We'll talk about the house too, so don't worry, that's not going away. But this is kind of, it's spring, and so this is kind of getting going, and I thought I'd share it with you. You can kind of see what I'm doing. It's another iron in the fire. I got a lot of, income streams, and this happens to be one of them. And so I thought I'd give you a little tour and see, kind of see what I'm doing, and share it with you. Maybe you can do it too and make some extra money. And this is very scalable. You can do as little or as much as you want making money with this thing. If you want to make a few $100, that's great. If you want to make a few thousand, that's better. If you want to make this thing, really sing, you can, easily get into $10,000 in annual income off of this project that I'm about to show you. So let's take a look in here. This is a 10 by 12 greenhouse that I built. And I put in all these shelves so that I can carry the plants up here high enough that the sun can come in on them. And I start a lot of plants from either seed or propagating them by division. And so a little terminology there. You can start plants from existing plants, or you can start plants from seeds, and there's some advantages and disadvantages that we can talk about a little later. But I just thought I'd give you a little look-see at what I'm doing right now, which is I'm repotting this sedum right here. This is a plant called a sedum. It's kind of a fleshy thing. There's a lot of different types of sedums. This is one in particular called Angelina, and it makes a really good ground cover. And you can kind of see there's some different shades of green here. There's a little darker green, a little lighter green, even a little bit of a tinge of pink or red comes on. Just depends on the climate and the soil type they're sitting in. But these are very prolific growers, and the short story on this is I brought a little bit of this over from my other house that when we sold. I took a little bit and put it in a pot, and we brought it over, and it was inside the house or the RV for a long time. And I finally, I think my wife said, "Get it out of here." And so I took it outside, and some of it fell off of the pot on the ground next to the steps by the RV. And it was just rocks and sand. It was just, these things are so bulletproof to grow. That's why I'm showing you these particular ones. And I just was like, whatever, it fell off. I didn't even bother picking it up. Next thing I know, I've got a little patch of it growing. It just took off on its own, right on top of the rocks, found its way in there and started rooting and grew. And so last fall, I took a handful of it. I literally just reached down and grabbed a hold of it and pulled it off the ground and brought it in here, and I planted 2 flats of these little pony packs. There's 6 cells, and so 36 cells you get. If you look at this right here, this is a flat with 2, 4, 6 of these, and there's 6 in each, so there's 36 cells right here. And I literally just put some soil in here, broke a few pieces of this, and stuck it in. And so I built 2 flats of these. And then I had some bunch of this just beat up, ugly looking chunks that were all just mostly like the main branch right here, just a bunch of junk that was left over. And I thought, well, I'm so weird about this. I threw it in a flat, just an empty flat with a little bit of dirt in the bottom. Sorry, I'm climbing all over the camera here. But I just took one of these and threw a little bit of dirt on the bottom and literally just kind of spread them out across there and said, okay, whatever, and watered it and stuck it in the corner. And they grow like there's no tomorrow. I don't know why these things haven't taken over the planet. They're really crazy. So I'll show you if you step inside. I'm going to flip the door shut here. That flat right there is what happened over the last few months. That's grown and filled in, and it's just a bunch of loose ones laying on top of the soil that I just water them occasionally because they're pretty tough. And they've filled in and grown in, and now they're just this solid mat of plant that I'm going to have to figure out how to chop up into other smaller pieces. But eventually what I did with the 6 packs was they got real long like this. and I repotted them into, which is what I'm doing today, is another flat. So I can fit, these are 3.5 by 3.5 inch pots, and they'll fit 18 of these will fit in here in the space of where 36 of the smaller ones were, so it takes twice as many, right? So I'm repotting what's left of them. I did half of them, and they're right here. These I potted off a few weeks ago into some larger containers. So so it gives them more growing room. The roots got more space now, and they can fill in. Well, they're very aggressive growers. In fact, they're kind of ornery, and I have to pay attention to where they're sitting, because they will literally try to climb over into here and root and grow into these other pots if I'm not careful. In fact, there's one extra one I got leaving right here, and I just kind of keep pushing him around so that he stays over the top of his own pot, because what they do, see all the hairs coming off the bottom? Can you see those in the camera? Mm-hmm. Those are roots. And these things will literally grow roots on every, inch of their surface area wherever they're laying. So if they get out here like this and touch the ground, they're going to root in and take off. And so it's fun to untangle them when you're repotting them, because they grow over into each other's pots and, try to form one big solid ground cover. And so what I'm doing right now is just kind of finishing that up. So I pulled them all apart, untangled them, and I'm putting them in the larger pots now, which is these, and potting them on. So they're getting a heck of a lot more room. There's probably, they were in a spot that big. Now they're getting about, I'd say 6 times more space. You got 4 spaces there, plus it's deeper. And so they're going to have a lot more room to grow, and they're going to fill in some more, and they're going to keep on going. So what's the point of all this? Well, the bottom line is I'm making them so I can sell them. And I'll sell them out of the yard here. I'll sell them online. I'll sell them at the little farmers markets, wherever. There's a bunch of different ways to sell these. You can take them down to little flea market sales and weekend bazaars. There's just endless ways to sell these plants, and especially in the spring, everybody's hungry for greenery, because it's been all winter and they want to get more stuff. And so that's what I'm doing. I've started a whole bunch of things from seed up here, and these are starting to come up. These are some bush beans coming up right here. I've got some stuff that I carried over from last year, and the nice thing is if you didn't sell it this year, you can sell it next year for more, because they're going to be bigger. So this is a sage, and this is a marjoram, which is kind of like oregano herbs. And I started these from seed last year, just like I showed you with the little 6-packs, and then potted them over into these bigger containers, and so they've grown considerably. In fact, this much up is growth from just this spring, since it warmed up a little bit. So this is something you can do, a very scalable process. You can start out as small and inexpensively as you want to. You can start by seeding. You can start by propagating like this, where you get a little pinch of this. And I have more of this now in the greenhouse than I came over here with a couple of years ago, when it was just something that was in a little pot that fell on the ground. And wherever these fall, they grow, and they grow pretty rapidly. So they make a nice plant to work with, and it creates more. So you're spending very little money or time, because plants do most of the work for you. They grow. All you have to do is a little watering. And
wasn't this one plant, and now it's 8? This
was 2. This is another plant called a heuchera, and it's a really pretty plant, nice bedding plant. And they get big and woody and overgrown after a while, and so you pull them out and you break them apart, and then you plant them back down. And so 2 were the originals, and they look like crap right now because I just tore them all apart, but you can see these new pieces are growing up. And you give these a few weeks and they'll fill in, and these will root on their own now that they're in the dirt, keep them moist, and they'll fill out real nice and pretty. And I just was looking at small ones of these the other day at the hardware store. They were $9 a piece for these plants. And so I have 7, I got 6 new ones out of the deal right here. And so I'm going to wind up, bringing those up, and I can choose to hang on to them and keep growing them off to get more, or I can start selling them once they get a little bit of root on them and they're stable. And so that's stuff you can do. You know, I've got some stuff coming up from seed over here. There's some broccoli and some peas and some beans and some basil. There's a bunch of herbs started. You can just propagate these. You know, these are little hens and chicks. It's another kind of a sedum, and you can see the little babies that start forming around those. You can break those off and stick them in their own pot, and then they'll grow and fill in like this one did here, fill all up. And what I did was I just started with one little rosette like this in each of these pots, and then they're filling in on their own. They're growing, and they multiply pretty rapidly, and you just keep making more material. This is a bunch of chives that I broke apart, and now they're growing and filling in, and they're starting to get little flowers on them. You can see the little purple flowers, and so these will fill in these pots, and they'll be worth $3 or $4 a piece for these pots when they get filled out the rest of the way and look nice. And so I've got a kind of a little bit of a hodgepodge. I've got some stuff that I'm propagating over here in the corner, some aloe, and here's some spider plants, and here's some more of that Angelina. It fell in here or got dropped in there or whatever, and it just started growing in there. I'll probably take that out because it's going to crowd that little spider plant. But you can make money with this. You can do a lot of different things. Here's a little aloe that I'm doing. It's kind of a mother plant, and it looks crappy because it got frosted, but it didn't kill it. And if you look down here, you see these babies are coming up, the little side shoots. And if I turn this, you see it? And I'm going to turn it around here, and you can see some more of them starting to pop up. They're just coming out of the soil right there. Those will all be separate plants at one point. And so it's a, you know, the nice thing is you put this guy away, you give him some food and water, and you set him over here and you leave him alone, and she, whichever, is doing all the work for me. They're growing, they're reproducing. I'll break those apart at some point when they get to the right size and pot them off and make more of them, and then I've got plants that I can sell. And you can perpetuate this. You know, if you don't have a lot of money to play with when you're starting, that's fine, because dirt's cheap and you can find pots and plants and, you know, deals like that. I got these all for free from a nursery. They get too many of them, they use them off, and then I said, hey, can I get some of those from you? They said, you can have them. Here, take as many as you want. So I wound up with a bunch of those. It's a standard little nursery pot they use, and so are these little 6-packs. You can buy them brand new too. I would go to, you know, buy them online and get the best price. So just thought I'd introduce this. I'm gonna do some more video on this. If you like it, let me know. If you want, you know, if you got questions, you know, put them in the comments. Subscribe. We'll make a playlist for this. It'll be a separate playlist on the channel for the greenhouse thing. And I've got some other stuff going on outside the greenhouse that I'll share with you as we go. But I just thought I'd share that with you. It's kind of a little meditation space for me too. Come in here and hang out for a few hours and do some potting and planting and watering, and you know, I'm always hunting for some material that I can reproduce. A lot of this stuff you can just cut and stick in water and it'll root, and then you can, once you get enough roots on them, you can pop them into the containers and they'll continue to grow. So you can, you know, you get a start of material here, and after a while you've got mother plants that you keep clipping from, and you can just keep reproducing plant material off the stuff you've already got. So it's just even cheaper to do that way. And you know, you can always find a neighbor or a friend or relative or somebody that's got a little extra start of something or other that they've got too much of, and they give it to you, and you can play with it and reproduce it and grow it and expand it, and you know, eventually you can sell them and make some money with them, and it gets to be a significant income. There's a lot of people doing sort of a little backyard nursery, if you will, and they make substantial amount of extra income that way. And that's just one of the ways that I have created income for myself with a shoestring startup. Very little, you know, time and money in the beginning, and if you've got, you know, this much space, start with that. If you got this much space, start with that. I happen to put this greenhouse up because I've been doing this for years, and I'm confident that you know, my investment's going to return for me. If you don't want to spend this much on a greenhouse, and I've got the videos on how to do this if you want to see them, you can start out with a lot of variations on the theme. It could be just a little box in the ground, or it could be something that you wrap with plastic, and it could be this big, it could be, you know, smaller back here, or it could be even bigger than this. So it's whatever you guys want to do. So let me know what you think of that. Just thought I'd share that money-making way to help you, you know, come up with the money to build your own home so you can stay out of that mortgage trap, and that's the whole purpose of this. That was sort of the first of this series, so this is, you know, episode for the garden greenhouse series, and just thought I'd wrap that up. I'll see you on the next Coffee with Kevin.